It was wonderful. Free Radical is also, of course, a personal story. Otherwise, obviously, it couldn't be a memoir. It starts when I started and finishes in 2018, after the 40th anniversary of Mardi Gras. Free Radical recounts my childhood in Brisbane, where the next door neighbour's mango tree hung with plentiful fruit, and we stained our faces with mulberries straight from the bush, ate custard apples, pawpaws, bananas, oranges and lemons straight from the tree, and not a supermarket. Living in Queensland taught me how to read the weather, not from a report in the paper or on the wireless or later the television, but rather through noticing where the sun was in the sky, its heat, where the breeze was coming from, where the clouds were forming, when a thunderstorm was brewing by the smell in the air, and when to remain indoors to avoid lightning. Free Radical details the Vietnam moratorium and anti-Springbok marches and demonstrations, the first national student strike in Australia in 1976, the National Union strike to save Medibank in the same year, not, by the way, supported by Bob Hawke, who was then the ACTU president. The transformation of the union movement. Over the past half-century, the role of women in that transformation, the critical role of unions in transforming industry and the services sector. Of particular note was the intellectual disability services and mental health services sector in South Australia in the 1980s. The rapid and profound transformation in health and safety legislation and its significance to workplaces and industry in this country ever since. One person who was on my invitation list, but who is not here with us this afternoon, is Max Pinozzo. He is and was truly loved and is sadly missed. The book also outlines how in 1982, Dr. Suzanne Brugger, wife of Bill, supported William Arnold and me in curating the first exhibition in Australia making visible the treatment of lesbians and gay men from the concentration camps to the 1980s. It was originally exhibited in the South Australian Constitutional Museum and was titled Becoming Visible. Subsequently, the exhibition also travelled to Victoria and New South Wales. At the public opening of the exhibition, an incident involving Steve Stevens, the Executive Director of the Festival of Light, and me occurred. Just as a cameraman from the newspaper, the now defunct, as you would remember, afternoon newspaper, went to take the photograph, I said, "Say lesbian, lesbian," instead of cheese. And the reaction from Steve Stevens' shocked face and the invitation made sure that the story made the afternoon newspaper. Richard Riley, after reading Free Radical, wrote to me and advised. The other surprise was the shared experience of police harassment following the Becoming Visible exhibition. I was stopped in the street, had my car repeatedly stopped for roadworthiness, had police knock on the door in the middle of the night several times with fake reasons. This went on for 6 months, over 2 addresses. I was once stopped in the street in Marsden one morning. After establishing I was on my way to the shops and where I lived, I asked why they'd stopped me. There had been reports of undesirables in the area, they advised. So I asked, do I look like an undesirable? And their retort, undesirables do have a certain look. I concluded the preface to Free Radical with the following. Whilst reflecting on the current social and political atmosphere, it worries me greatly that whole populations are now so far removed from the political process that it's truly a threat to democracy itself. On a bad day, I feel like there's a 1950s-style revisionism in the air, a retreat to a society that has become much more fearful as the world around us is ever expanding and changing. It is time to free ourselves of this anxiety. We must do so not with mean spirits, but with generosity and with generous hearts. Wide awake, open-eyed. We must replace fear with courage, a bleak worldview with one of optimism. Most importantly, I hope readers are encouraged to reflect on the past, to protect what has been achieved, and that whatever insights may be found in the pages of this memoir, they encourage readers to engage in discourse to inform the future. Nelson Mandela was so right when he suggested that fools multiply when the wise are silent.